Good morning, kindred spirits. I hope you're having a great 2026 so far. I am recording this on January 28th, Wednesday, and just wanted to review a book that I recently found and have been enjoying so very much. And it's called The Indigo Adults and Understanding Who You Are and What You Can Become. And there have been times in my life where people have read my aura, and I had aura photography that indicated, a very strong indigo aura. But besides that, I've always felt that I have a higher purpose, and maybe we all do. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to mention this book to you. I've referred it to a few friends and family members. I don't know if they took me up on reading it, but a couple of them told me that it was hard to get past the pages on astrology. So I just want to bring this up to you, just show you a couple of things about it, and you can make a decision if you want to read the book or not. First, you also need to understand what an indigo adult is, and if you don't already, I may add some of that to this video, or you may be able to find it on my website, mysticdivinations.com. I'm going to put a little bit of information about it in my blog on there. But first and foremost, I'm not trying to sell a book or anything, but I really think that a lot of us were born and chose to be born in this era for a much higher purpose. And in this book, it asks, who am I and what am I doing here? And so I feel like it's for anyone struggling with the uncertainty of a life without a clear sense of purpose. And I think we're all searching for our higher purpose. But one of the things I want you to look at and see if this applies to you is, do you experience unusual sensitivities, feelings of being separate or misunderstood, frustrations and dissatisfactions with the normal world? And I really want to point this out, with the normal world. Deep feeling, thinking, and introspection of nature, a driving need to contribute to creating a better world. How many of us fit into that category? Now, this isn't a new book. It was published in 2009. The interesting thing about reading it here in 2026 is you can see some of the things that this author thought would be happening at this day and age, and some of it truly is. But I took the opportunity to just kind of mark a few of the pages that I found interesting. And once again, you have to really get past those first 3 chapters, I really believe, because I had no problem with the first 3 chapters. I'm fascinated by astrology and such, but I did have a friend comment that it was just hard to get into it. I said, you just really need to skip to chapter 3 then. If you can't get into it, then don't read it. But, the point is, for instance, I really found something interesting in this third paragraph here. This is about astrology, and it's looking at the zodiac signs through celestial lenses and understanding that the Earth is aligned with a particular lens. For example, Pisces. The energy of Pisces flows into the Earth sphere. And you have to really think about how this correlates to our astrological signs. The Earth itself, what sign is it in at any given moment with the moon phases and such? For instance, it talks about the full moon and how it affects us personally. And sometimes some of us can't sleep well, or our emotions are stimulated. And I've always reacted to the moon, always, without conscious thought of it. And when I look into it, usually it coincides with certain full moons. Another interesting part that I marked was the indigo energies and indigo souls began coming to the planet around the 1700s, according to this author. We are now in a culture of transition, and it's time of sweeping change, as you can tell. And new spirits emerged in the 60s. I was born in the late 60s. But there's so much struggle as we, wrestle with the outer layers of our personality and the establishment of the world. And this book really goes into why we face those struggles and how we can work with those struggles. Keeping in mind that this book was published in 2009, the author said that in the past 10 years or so, the indigo phenomena gained public attention. And now you're noticing that at that era, the children were different. They were very individualized, rebellious, very intelligent. And I realized, having children of my own who were born in the late 90s and early 2000, that they are different, so different from us. They are very intelligent and normal. I hate the word normal, But you saw a lot of kids being called not normal, that they had attention deficit disorders and stuff like that. But it's because they had a different spirit and the way that they related. And I think that it's very interesting in today, 2026, how we have so many labels, but we have so much more knowledge. And I think that's what's beautiful about the era that we're in, as trying as it is. The era that we're in is creating the change necessary for the future generations. And we're part of that. We're part of the change, the Indigo souls, each and every one of us. And here it speaks of how the Indigo children and some of the Indigo adults who incarnated the parents who themselves are Indigos, they have it easier than some of the others. And I feel like my children are Indigo children born to an Indigo adult. But these parents support their children's Indigo nature. And their personalities and our personalities reflect more of the new and is more aligned with the qualities of our Indigo souls. And this author claims that we are in a Piscean civilization, the age of Pisces, and that we are Aquarius souls, and that this is a changing of a civilization and a changing of an age. And we're here to help transition from that Piscean civilization to the Aquarius civilization. And whether true or not, I find it most fascinating. And again, this is in the early parts of the book. And another thing that I like here is where it says the changing of the ages brings the greatest possibility of transformation. And as the two ages meet, chaos of these two conflicting tidal forces and the new is cannot easily take shape. So there are a lot of metaphors here, a lot of things written in 2009 that I see in 2026 that is absolutely true. You see so many people trying to evolve, trying to emerge independently, and struggling to accept the change. And another chapter that I find most fascinating, once again, if you don't like chapters 1 through 3, start at chapter 3, because it talks about the nature of Indigo souls, freedom, vision, truth sense, and a need to grow. And I know that I feel the biggest need to just grow. I feel that I'm on the cusp of emerging into who I truly am. But this book is illustrated, it can take a lifetime for those discoveries to be realized. And we're part of a journey, and we're part of a bigger realization that change lies within us, individually and as a group and as a whole. This book is really sharp. I like it. For instance, I have literally marked pages. This page and the next few pages really resonated with me. This page, I mean, how many times do you pick up a book that you can just mark that these pages really resonated with you? I found so much confidence in the author's explanation. Not everything. I don't agree with everything for sure, but a lot of it made sense. And I think particularly the challenges that we face in a world of deception and lies. We live in a society that is based on appearances and not truth. And as children, we're brought up to behave in certain ways. And these newer generations, they're not following that modality, because they too want to express their truth, where we had to repress a lot of our feelings. And maybe they feel the same way. Maybe they feel like they're having to repress their feelings as well. But the greatest loss that happens to us is the disconnect on a conscious level from our truth sense. And this book really encourages us to find our true selves. In every chapter, there's questions from the audience where he was giving a lecture, and his answer to those audience members. For instance, I'm having a big struggle with speaking my truth. You talk about truth, but it is not actually graspable for me. These are questions from his audience members, and the author, he and his wife, they have answers. And sometimes she chimes in too. Mostly it's just the male author. There's a lot of question and answer pages here. Something you can relate to. So this book, I highly recommend it. If you feel like you could possibly be an Indigo soul, and like I said, I'll put a little something here at the end. I'm trying to keep it short. It's hard. I'm long-winded. But towards the end of the book here, it goes into Indigos in love, the new man and the new woman, the Indigo souls and upper chakras. And I do work with my chakras and encourage people to work with those. But they do have an Are You an Indigo Adult? And it has a lot of questions there to ask so that you can determine, are you an indigo adult? And I bet if you're watching this video, you probably are, or you know someone who is. But I highly recommend the book, and I think it's available on Kindle, very, very low cost, free in some instances if you're a Prime subscriber and such. But I found it at a bookstore. It called out to me, and I like to review some things and share with people the things that help me see a little more clearly, or help me question the big picture that we have here. But I hope you'll check out that book, and hope you'll check out some more of my videos. And now I'm going to put a little bit about what an indigo soul is, just very briefly, and I will elaborate more on my website. It may not be today after work, but this weekend I plan on putting a little more about indigo souls on the website. So, thank you for watching the video, and you have a very blessed day.